Welcome, everybody. It's Eddie Trunk, and it's time for another Trunk Nation virtual invasion where we are joined by some great artists and give you, the audience, a chance to talk to and visit with these artists along the way. In this very special hour, I am joined by Dave Mustaine of Megadeth. Dave, good to see you.
You too, Eddie. Hello, everybody.
So, Dave, before we get to the audience, this is the first time you and I are talking publicly since your cancer and everything that went on. And the most important thing here is, how are you? How's your health?
I'm good. I'm feeling good. A little tired from recording the record because we've been working feverishly on this, but it feels good. I think we're sitting on a good record, and as far as the treatment, the recovery from the cancer, the doctor said that I was healed, so I'm done. I mean, of course, it could always come back, but for now, I'm 100%.
Well, I mean, that's the best news that any of us could hear. I mean, I remember not too long ago, the Mega Cruise was getting ready to sail, and everyone was obviously extremely concerned about you and how you were doing, and that went as well as it could without you being on it, of course, but it's great to hear that you're 100%. So would they consider what you are in remission now?
Yeah, I guess that's the word. I don't have it anymore, and I guess I'm supposed to continue to go for checkups every. It was at first it was every week, and then it's gotten to every 2 weeks, and now it's monthly. So I'm looking forward to when it's quarterly. But I feel better. I feel a lot better. I'm just tired. When you have your head fried by it was 52 doses of radiation, so there's a lot. And I know I'll be better. I know I'm going to get my strength back every day, which is cool.
You mentioned you're working on a record. Have you had any residual effects from the treatment show up while you've been recording?
A lot of static.
Just around you, around your body?
Yeah. Buzzing sound everywhere.
Could be very metal, Dave.
Could be. Light bulbs blow out when I walk in the room.
Well, I'm glad we can laugh about this. That means you're 100% healthy, which is great. But you feel good, and it hasn't taken any impact on your performance in any way, whether it be singing or playing. You feel like everything's there.
Well, I did on the last tour that we did. I did on the Jimi Hendrix Experience that I did before that, and I feel right now with this record, the record's very intense as far as performance is concerned. I've done the whole fast, and then learned how to write melody in fast, and then became more melodic as time went on, and then kind of. I'm not going to say I walked away from it, because, once you start writing with melody, it's kind of hard not to, because your brain kind of says, well, but that doesn't really work. So this record now is just full on, and Kiko has come in and said a couple times where I had a couple of illegal notes, I guess it's called, in theory and stuff. I'm self-taught, so I don't know where the notes are supposed to go legally. I don't particularly care about legal anything. Well, yeah, a couple things, but when it comes to guitar playing, and I know David Ellison stopped playing after one of the takes. He goes, "Man, my arm's killing me," which is good, because he's a great player too.
So this album, how far along are you? We're going to talk about the book, of course, in a second, but how far along are you with the album, and how are you making the album? Are you doing it virtually, or has everybody been able to come to a studio in Tennessee or wherever you're working at?
No, I believe if you can afford to have the luxury to be together and play, that's important. Of course, if you've made records and you're together, and you want to try doing it virtually, then that's your right, your prerogative. But if you don't try it both ways, then you can't really compare them. You're just kind of following the trends. And you know, for me, I guess we've been doing virtual performances all our career, but you know, I'm enjoying sitting in the studio and listening to stuff in headphones, and then being able to walk outside and look at the beautiful sky and listen to these performances and just get excited, because it's really exciting right now. The thing I'm scared about the most is probably not having lyrics that are going to be you know, that will live up to the aggression of the music, because the music sounds it sounds a lot like probably the first couple records we did. I'm not going to say it sounds like Rust or anything like that, but it certainly sounds like something that would have came out while Gar and Chris Poland were in the band.
Well, why do you think the lyrical aspect of it is a challenge? Are you just not in that headspace of getting, you know, that sort of angry, if you will?
No, I don't think so. I think a lot of it has to do with the conditions of the world right now, and how everybody is so God, they're just so polarized. And I remember I got in trouble a long time ago for saying something, and it pretty much this is back in 2011, I think it was, and I pretty much toned down my talking about politics and stuck with music, which I enjoy way more. You know, I love watching politics, and I love the whole, you know, brinksmanship and all that kind of stuff that goes on there. But as far as you know, writing about anything that's current right now, the only thing that's really current is just tragic. You know, every single thing that's going on right now that's in the news is just tragic. And, you know, whether it's you're the victim or you're the perpetrator, or you know, whatever, if you think that you deserved it or you think that you didn't, you know, there's just so many things that are going on in the world right now with the pandemic and with the all of the writing that's going on. You know, those two things, God, you could write for weeks and weeks and weeks, but it would all be about the same thing again, right? It's and I don't know what some of those people have been through. I've been through my own stuff. I mean, I've shared living on the streets and being homeless with people, but you know, I want to sing about something once that fucking vaccine is cured, that they, you know, they'll be able to sing about it instead of saying, I don't want to hear that damn quarantine song again, you know? And frankly, I believe that there are enough brilliant minds in the US, let alone the whole world, that somebody's going to come up with a solution for this. And I believe real soon. I know there's a lot of people that are scaring the hell out of everybody, but if you think about it, Spanish flu, bird flu, swine flu, all these other things that happened over the history of the world, you know, it's just like that old saying, behind every mountain is another mountain, you know. And we were just dealing with, what was the one we were just dealing with? Ebola or something like that.
Yeah, not long ago, yeah.
Yeah, so, and then before that was Zika, and, you know.
Yeah. Hey, I want to ask you about this book before we get to our audience, because I did something last night that I honestly in my life have never done. I read the book in its entirety in one night. And usually it takes me forever because I don't have the attention span, or I got stuff going on. And I say that because it was that good. It was that compelling to me. It was that well written. It was that interesting. I love the format where it was basically one long interview and everybody had a chance to say something, and then someone would counter it, and then you would say something like, well, that's the first time I'm hearing about that. I thought the format was brilliant. It was brutally honest. Tell me about the idea of doing this book. When did you first think about doing a book about Rust in Peace?
Well, I had started to think about writing a book long before I did my memoir. And it was going to be a book about all the songs and what, you know, all the words and sentences, where they came from, you know, whether they're idioms or cliches or whatever they are, and helping the listener have a more, I wouldn't necessarily say coherent, but a more clear journey from where my perspective is. And then I kind of thought, well, maybe people don't want to have their journey taken away from them. They want it to be their personal thing. So then I started thinking about, the memoir. Did the memoir was totally successful, and the bug had bit me by then, and the time to do the follow up to the memoir came, and I started thinking about all the different types of follow up books I want to do. I certainly can't do a second life, but can do stuff that's has a little more detail about things. And that's where the songbook came back up. And this time they said, just do it about the hits. And then somebody had said, why don't you just do it about Rust in Peace? That's by far your most critically acclaimed metal record. Why don't you just do that and call it, Dave Mustaine does Megadeth. And I said, how about the building of the perfect beast? And then that title was taken for something else. I think that was for the box set.
So the book, I mean, a couple of things that jumped out to me about the book that I want to ask you about, and then we'll get the audience in here. But one of the takeaways is this was the fourth, Rust in Peace, the fourth album for Megadeth. Three albums prior that had continuing levels of success. I mean, by the time you did Rust in Peace, you were a pretty well-established band. But I took away from, in reading the book, and correct me if I'm wrong, that even though you had had a good level of success up to that point, there was still a lot of, I don't know the word for it, but restraint on the band. There were financial issues. You guys were far from the set up rock stars people might envision you being going into a record like this. It seemed like there was still the drugs are a huge overlying part of all that. I know that, but is it safe to say there was still a lot of struggle, even financially at that time for you and the band?
Yeah, I think so. If you look at the history when we went on tour the first time, we had broken down in our vehicle in Texas, and somebody had given us the number to the record company so we could call them up and ask them to wire us some gas money so we could get to the next city and we could do our show and get some food money and some gas money. So we called the record label, and this guy, Steve Sinclair is his name. He gets on the phone and he says, no, he wasn't going to send us any money and that we better get a day job. And I thought, oh boy, you just made an enemy. And I've never seen the guy, if I ever do see him, it's like, a second here, just a minute in passing and stuff like that. But, it's kind of awesome that he was taken out of my circle without me having to get, too worked up over it. Sad thing is one of the good guys over at Combat is really sick right now. Cliff Coltrane, who's the former vice president of the label there at Combat.
Yeah, I know these names because having worked in the business back then myself, I know some of these people, not directly, but know the names. But was the fact going into Rust in Peace that financially things were so strained, was that due to being ripped off in previous tours and records, or because of the drug use and you were spending it all on drugs?
I think it was a little bit of everything. It was us getting ripped off, not only from people in drug deals. It was from people that were our friends and people we knew very closely. They would just steal from me and David, and usually it was me because Dave didn't have a lot of money. It was there were all kinds of strains. We went through a lot of different hardship, whether it was finding a place to live or not. I'll tell you, the beginnings in Megadeth were really brutal.
Well, one of the strains in the story of Rust in Peace, of course, for the book, is finding the band, finding the rest of the band besides you and David Ellefson, because at that point you were still sorting through that, and finding Nick and finding Marty were a big part of sorting through this record too. It's amazing to me because when you read the book, all that was going on, all of the issues, the drugs, the band members, whatever was happening, all of that resulted in what, as you said, many people consider to be the classic Megadeth record. When you read this story, it's amazing what the end result was.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Do you look back on it in amazement that how did this come out of that?
To say the least, Eddie, I would say I'm surprised that we made it out the parking lot of that place.
Yeah, and the story opens, I guess, at the end of the last tour, Donington in England. All the issues with drugs and who's dope sick and who has to go home and all this stuff that was going on. And then you get back and then you start trying to piece this whole thing together and you're in and out of rehabs. I mean, it's incredibly revealing. I mean, it's to me, comes off as being very honest and blunt from everyone's perspectives. Is that what you were trying to accomplish by including everybody involved in Rust in Peace in the book?
Well, I didn't want to make a book that was full of, sexual stories and stuff like that, because, who really is going to appreciate that? They want to hear about the music. They want to hear about the fights and victories and stuff like that, And honestly, I personally think that a guy that writes a story about himself in bed, maybe he doesn't have anything better to talk about. If he's a musician, I certainly don't want to know about who he's in bed with.
How clear were your memories, Dave, when you were interviewed for this book about all this? There is a moment in the book where you say David Ellison will probably have the best, most accurate memories of this. But for you, with all you were going through in and out of rehabs and all the addiction issues, how vivid is the thought of making Rust in Peace in your mind 30 years later?
Oh, I still remember it, not as clearly as I think the other guys may, but it's one of those things where, it leaves such an indelible mark on you. Either it's gonna make one of those impressions that is life changing, or it's not. And if you're not the kind of cat that if you don't play music, then you're not going to appreciate a record like that from the position of being a musician. If as a music fan, you could never touch an instrument in your life and still love the music just as much as somebody who plays guitar. But a guy that plays guitar is going to think about this and go, shit, that's difficult, versus someone who goes, I like that song.
You have Slash did the foreword. Talk about that decision. You and Slash had befriended each other around this time. Talk about the decision to have him write the foreword to this book.
Well, I actually was talking with Ryan Downey, and he did the interview with Slash, and I just thought it was perfect because we had such a rebellious friendship, The guys in Megadeth and the guys in Guns N' Roses were two of the most dangerous bands in Hollywood at that point, and you knew it. If you were someplace where we were probably breaking the law severely at the time, and I think a lot of people, they kind of take for granted that if you're partying and you're in a car, you're very possibly a felon at that moment, especially if you're carrying, so the amount of times we've been with or around people who are constant, regularly practicing felons, after a while you just kind of say, the friends I'm hanging around with are kind of becoming lower and lower class. I think I better change something about this. And that was one of the things with us and the guys in Guns N' Roses is when we got together, man, you never know what was going to happen. There was all kinds of stuff that was taking place. And there was one time I was at Slash's house and I heard this rustling sound inside of a box. And it had been this little rabbit he had, and he tossed it inside of this box with a giant constrictor, right? So I'm hearing the rabbit going like, get me out of here, or whatever the rabbits say when they're about to get their guts squished out. And I had no idea what was going on. And he ended up finally telling me, and it scarred me. It was pretty insane to think I was sitting there out of my mind on drugs, getting ready to watch somebody use a rabbit as wadding.
Yeah. I've been to his house. I've seen the snakes. I know what you're talking about. There was a point too where you actually, for half a second, you considered him or made an offer for him to join Megadeth, even though Guns had just had released Appetite and it was a huge record. There was actually some dialogue at that time.
Plenty, probably more with Slash and David Ellefson than between Slash and I, but we all talked. And you know, the great thing about Slash is he's such an old soul. You know, he's just really he's really down to earth. You know, he's one of the biggest rock stars in the world, but you know, you can go up to him and say hello, and you know he's going to be smiling from underneath those bangs, and he's like, hey man, you know, and so it was the perfect I think forward to this book, because I don't know anybody else that has that kind of cred.
And there was a segment too in the book that I was interested in where you actually talked to Dimebag about joining the band at one point, and he didn't want to do it because he insisted Vinny come with him, and you guys already had a drummer.
Right.
There was did that get any closer than just a quick conversation? Was that an ongoing sort of discussion, or was it just an overture and that was it?
No, it was the one phone call I had made. I believe, again, you know, this is an area where David Ellefson and Slash Dimebag were talking more than I was. But when I finally got onto you know, making the phone call, and I got Slash on the phone, it was got Daryl on the phone. It was a little different than, you know, what I had imagined. I thought he was going to come. I had no idea he was in a band with his brother. And then as soon as he said it was his brother, I thought, well, I wouldn't leave playing with my brother unless it was an offer that was too good to be true. And at that point, you know, we really didn't have a too good to be true offer for him or anybody at the time. You know, we had just gotten Nick and just gone through getting rid of Jeff and Chuck.
You mentioned two more quick things, and we're going to break and get to the audience. You mentioned when Marty came in, you actually used the word in the book that you were intimidated by his guitar playing. Mm-hmm. Can you expound on that a little bit? I mean, you're a phenomenal player in your own right. Was it just his style of playing was maybe just such a different approach than you, or that you saw something in him that he was going to fill in Megadeth? Talk a little bit about what your first impression was beyond intimidation.
Well, he just played different than I did, and his lead playing was different from any other lead guitar player that was out on the scene at the time. He was a very exotic player, and you know, I didn't really know anybody. I knew Warren played a little bit like him, but you know, I think that if you're in a metal band and you got somebody that was from a more of, at the time, Rat was kind of more of a glam band, so I don't think that it would have been doable at all to have said, hey, let's try Warren. But you know, when I heard Marty's stuff, it was just totally really groovy. This Asian, Oriental, Middle Eastern, Arabian kind of thing, and you know, getting the rock part out of him wasn't difficult at all. It was a lot easier to get him to solo, but it wasn't hard to get him to play rhythms. You know, a lot of lead guitar players can't do rhythms very well. That's why they just play lead.
And the last thing here, this really jumped out at me. I thought this was pretty powerful at the moment you're making this record. And this comes up twice in the book. You say this, and the quote is, you're saying to yourself at the time, because you were messing up so much and having so many problems going into with drugs and what have you. The quote is from you, I should have been kicked out of Metallica. Hell, I should be kicked out of Megadeth. I mean, Megadeth at that point was your band. That's a pretty heavy thing to say about what was going on with you at the time. Can you expound on that a little bit?
I just made that up.
You didn't feel that way?
Oh yeah, I did. But I think that if anybody has the guts to be honest with themselves, they're gonna have some of those, those days. They will. You're gonna have those days where you wake up and you just think, man, I don't know what anybody sees in what I'm doing. I don't feel like I matter. Just some of those days that are, the typical days where you just, you end up working extra hard to get something done. It's a lot of people, they get scared of taking chances and stuff like that. And I probably would have never come up with Rest in Peace if I hadn't have jumped out of an airplane, and you talk to most people about doing that and they're like, hell no. And I couldn't do it fast enough.
Dave, as we go to break, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say Marty didn't like it at all. I had to bet him.
Jumping out of the plane?
Yeah, he said, "Oh, dude, I'll go if we go platinum, but that's it." And I was thinking, wow, how far is platinum from where we are right now? And we went platinum, and I went and told him, hey, guess what? You're going. So if you look in the book, look at the picture of Marty's face. He's not amused.
Hey, who's that? Tell the audience who we're seeing there in your arms.
This is Mink. This is the littlest one. Romeo's Mink? Over there. Yeah, Romeo's over there sleeping in front of the marshals. I don't know if you can see over there. He's on the floor. Seeing a little.
Okay. Oh my gosh, tiny.
Yeah, and then Gunner is out sleeping in the front room because he's on his last lap around the backyard, if you know what I mean. He's really old and got really sick and he's been through a lot. Got attacked by coyotes and he lived. Actually,
oh wow!
Actually beat the coyotes up, which is quite a lot, for a little dog like that.
Yeah, for sure. And now we turn it over to our great audience, and they will fire away some questions at Dave. And our first listener viewer joining us on Zoom is Albert. And Albert, where are you joining us from?
Calling in from Baltimore, Ed.
Albert, thanks for being here. Say hello to Dave and fire away with your question.
Great, Dave. Great to see you. Great to see you well.
Thanks, Junior.
So you've always had a real fire in your playing and your lyrics. And I was wondering, where did that fire come out from when you were starting out? And has that progressed or changed over time?
First off, thanks for being part of the show, and hello to everybody out in Baltimore. The inspiration, a lot of it was, the way that I grew up and being a skinny little redheaded freckle-faced kid, I got picked on a lot. So the guitar was one of the only real loyal friends in my life, even, it's an inanimate thing. It's one of the things that I believe in, and I'm sorry, stupid dogs are barking again. It's always been really fun for me to be able to listen to music and try and play it on guitar. But, sometimes it was a little harder than I thought. Like learning the Hendrix stuff was impossible. That was so difficult for me, trying to be part of that show too, because everybody that was there was all just masters at their guitar.
Yeah, I saw you. I came out and saw you on Experience Hendrix, and I thought it was great. And you know what I always wondered about that, Dave? After you performed, I went over to you. I don't know if you recall. I was at the show in Jersey, and you were in the wings of the stage watching someone else. And I went over to you and I said, I thought you were great, what you did. And I said I was disappointed because you didn't sing. And I was like, I wish you would have sang instead of just played as well. And now in retrospect, I didn't know you were sick at the time, but did you not sing on Experience Hendrix because of what at that point you knew, you were not feeling well and that you had cancer?
No. I was asked really late in the scheme of things with the song and who else was playing. And they didn't even tell me what song I was playing until the day I got there, which was okay by me. I'm a professional, but, you know, yeah, I was not the only person that happened with. And I think a lot of people, they're used to that, you know. I'm not. I play my music, so it's a show that's the same for me, and I do the same thing for my performances. And playing other people's music is not something I'm very adept at, because there's so much to learn, to do different. Sometimes I'll watch Kiko and the other guys get together and jam, and I enjoy it for a little while, but I'm not a jam kind of guy either. So even when we do live songs that are Megadeth songs, we don't really improvise. We haven't had real long jam sessions. No Spinal Tap Mach 2.
Let's bring Cheryl on. She's next to join us here on this latest Trunk Nation Virtual Invasion with Dave Mustaine. Again, the book that is out now is a must-read for any Megadeth fan. It takes you inside all the details on the making of Rust in Peace, and has much more than just Dave featured in it. All the people that were involved in and around the record at the time. It's just a great, great read. Cheryl, welcome. Thanks for being here. It looks like Cheryl has a dog of her own there in the shot. Is that?
I do.
It's
my little pup.
Oh, okay. Cheryl, say hello to Dave. What's your question for him?
Hey, Dave, what's up?
Hi.
So my question is, do you think the Rest in Peace is more relatable today, politically, religiously, than it was 30 years ago? And also, I hope you had a happy birthday yesterday.
Oh, thank you. I did.
Yes, belated.
I did. Thank you. It was wonderful. I think records are all relevant to who the writer is. If the writer is considerate about stuff that matters today, and if it matters tomorrow, I think, we've been real fortunate with our stuff so that the lyrics are timely as well as timeless. But, for example, when we were on Arsenio's, back when Hangar 18 came out, and he said, drop a dime on us next time you're in town. And that totally tells you what time period it was, because, you can't make a payphone call without putting in $2 now, it's and even then, who knows what's going to happen. You get on the phone for about 30 seconds and then it asks you for another $2.
Can't find a payphone.
Yeah, no kidding, huh?
Okay, thank you, Cheryl, for that. Let's welcome in Christine right now. Hi, Christine. Welcome. Where are you calling in from?
Hi. I'm from Wilkesboro, North Carolina.
Welcome. Say hello to Dave.
Hi.
Hello.
Dave, this is
Hi.
cool.
How are you?
I'm good. My question is, I know that writing a book and digging up old memories can sometimes lead to realizing, things you might have missed back in the day and when things were actually happening. And did you have any epiphanies or realizations about anybody or yourself that you didn't realize while you were writing the book?
Oh, I think if you're asking, is there anything that I discovered about anybody in the book that may have changed my opinion about them? And I think the only person I was really looking to learn anything really relevant about was myself, so I could find out if there was anybody that I had actually, harmed and needed to kind of clear away, the wreckage stuff, if you know what I mean, because there's a lot of people in that were in the picture, although we, some of us are friends and some of us aren't, and I think we all prefer it that way. Now, I'm friends with Max, but, I think that Max is a very brilliant Englishman, and I don't think he really has time for people, who waste it. And it was funny when I first got him back on the phone to talk to him about this, I kind of felt like I was imposing when I was talking to him, but it's just, it's kind of like that with some friendships. You have to nurture them and take care of them, and other ones, they're just absolutely fine surviving by themselves. They don't need that sustenance to keep them alive. They're not on life support.
And you're talking about Max Norman, who mixed Rust in Peace, right?
Not about any of the comments about life support and stuff like that. As I said, Max, I feel, is a very brilliant man, and
right.
Yeah, so I have a lot of respect for him, and I think that he makes great records.
I think the format, as I said before, and how you did this book is really interesting in that they're all interviews throughout with these different people. And here's Dave's, here's Marty's take, here's Ellison's take, here's Mike Klink. Did you actually conduct those interviews, or did you read through all of them before you were interviewed? I'm curious about the process, because there's times in the book where you respond to what someone said before you and say something to the effect of like, well, that's the first time I've heard that, or I don't know where he got that from. How did the formatting of it work, Dave?
Well, we weren't really going for call and answer. It was more like we all spoke about what was going on, and we had Joel pretty much help us document it, and him being a talented, successful bestseller himself, I think it was great to be able to talk to him, because he's an old hippie from San Francisco, and he loves this stuff, and I think you cut him, he bleeds, black and white, and I think it was interesting when we got towards the end of the project. He had mentioned, and I know I'm probably making this up, but he had said that there was a word for the style that we had done, where you have these multiple people. The easiest reference I can say is it's like in the Bible, where they have the one story and four dudes are telling how the story went. And then the other way, there's this, when you see a car crash and there's so many people on the corner, they're all watching, and you've got so many different ways that people are telling the story. So I wanted to give everybody an opportunity to, one, clear the air on their side of the street, and two, if there was anything I needed to get right, that I would have that chance. And I think we're all doing, pretty good. There's some noticeable people who are not in the book. Some people didn't want to be part of it, and some people they just didn't belong in there. They just didn't deserve to be part of it anymore. So I wish Nick was alive. Wish Gar was too, but Gar wouldn't have had any part of the book. It was from Chuck and Jeff onward until when Nick and Marty parted.
We go to Highland, California, and welcome Cameron. Hi, Cameron.
How's it going? What's up, Dave? Happy belated birthday.
Thanks, Cam.
Awesome. I just wanted to know if you had any plans of a Rust in Peace re-release or box set for its 35th anniversary. Such an iconic album.
For Rust in Peace for 35th anniversary, I think they're doing a box set now.
Oh, really?
Yes, sir. And we've got the book, the box set, and there was something else that they were doing. I think it's I think they are doing a reissue of Rust. I'm not exactly sure, but you'll know soon.
And of course, there was the remix that you did of the record a few years back when you redid the whole catalog. I just pulled out that out the other day as well.
Thanks. That was 16 years ago.
Oh my God! I can't believe it's been that long. Feels like yesterday. That's crazy. Let's welcome in our next viewer, listener. This is Jason, and Jason is joining us from Oxford, Michigan. Jason, thanks for being a part of this. Fire away. You're on with Dave.
Thanks, Eddie. I appreciate it. Dave, I think I can speak for all of us Megadeth fans. It's awesome to see you right now, and it's awesome that this book has come out. So thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Absolutely. My question is when writing this new book, what are one or two things that you wanted us, the reader, to kind of come away with here or maybe something that we didn't know already that is important to you that you'd like us to know as well?
That we were all rotten, not just me. I'm just kidding. I think there was a lot of times, Jason, where stuff happened where I really wanted to tell everything at the time, but I couldn't because, it's just protecting the innocent kind of thing. And not that anybody's not around to defend themselves or to protect their reputation anymore, but I just think that, when you look at how I've handled things, there's been a lot of people who said terrible stuff about me, and I don't worry about it because, I'm more concerned about what God thinks of me than what man says about me, because at the end of the day, when I lay my head on the pillow, if I'm that fortunate to have a bed, I go to sleep and I sleep soundly. Now, a lot of that has to do with a couple years ago, I got involved in a soup kitchen in Tijuana. And then I found it was so rewarding for my soul that I went and did it again in Haiti. And right now, I haven't checked in on the organization for a while. It's called Outside the Bowl. And I know the last time I checked in before this whole epidemic happened, they were feeding up to 3,500 people a day. And all they have to do is, it's women and orphans, and they just have to sit there and listen to some guy talk to them while they get fed, And it's been really rewarding for us. So for me, at the end of the day, people can call me an asshole all they want, because I know that I'm not.
Doing some great stuff now. That is awesome. Okay, now next up, let's welcome from Bronx, New York, Phil joining us right now on this virtual invasion with Dave Mustaine. Hi, Phil. Thanks for being here.
Good to see you both. Dave, God bless you, and thank you for getting well. We need you.
Thank you, Phil.
So my question is, during the recording process for Rust in Peace, what was your fondest memory from that time? And by the way, I'll be wearing this on my wedding day, October 31st.
Holy cow. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Does your bride know?
Oh, she knows. She knows.
She knows. Oh, wow.
By the way, anybody who wants some free dogs, hit me up after the show. My fondest memory, it's kind of hard to say that because there was a lot of good times and a lot of bad times during the making of that record. And some of the bad times during the making of that record were actually really good. It's like Mae West says, when I'm good, I'm good. And when I'm bad, I'm better, and that was kind of like my whole existence was, the badder you are, the more people didn't mess with you. And not that I didn't want to be messed with, I just kind of wanted to be left alone.
By the way, for the benefit of the radio audience, we should tell them that what Phil was holding up was the Vic Rattlehead mask, which is what he plans on wearing at the altar on his wedding day. So I forgot, since we're doing this over Zoom, there's people listening, have no idea what he was holding. So there you go. Okay, here's another Phil. This is Philip Gieman. Hey, Philip.
Hey, Phil.
Hey, how you doing, Dave?
Good. How you, brother?
Well.
Thank you.
I'm a fan of your Saison 13 and a Tout Le Monde beers.
Oh, great.
Could you tell me how you got involved, how you decided to get involved in the beer business? And we have any styles coming in the future, some new ones?
Actually, I got involved in it through my management because I told them that I wanted to look into when we did the symphony thing back in 2012, I think it was 2012, 2014, something like that. We wanted to have some social lubricant, if you know what I mean. And, when you go to a classical hall and they're doing classical performances, they're usually not set up for beer aficionados or for people who, they're going to probably be more looking for spirits or high priced wines, and so we thought, you know what, we never really messed around with wine, so we tried that, and it was a huge success. And the way that the beer came about was, during the day for me, if I'm thirsty, the last thing I want to do is like have a swig of wine. I would rather have a cold beer. But the good thing for me was, I had pretty much stopped my drinking and just kind of left it to casual drinking. But then after I got the notice from the doctor that I had cancer, my oncologist had said that, if you drink alcohol, it's going to help speed up the process of the cancer because of the sugar in it. And I thought, oh, well, guess what? That was my last drink. So now, if I'm making a new beer or a new wine, I'll just have a sip. Sometimes many, many sips, but I'm just kidding. But that's about it, with the getting involved with the beer. Now, will there be another beer? I'm sure there'll always be another one. I know we just came up with 3 new delicious wines, but the beer is a company in Canada, and we found that because it's a different country, there's just been, I think, a little bit of some extra hassle for the people in Canada, which I believe is also making it harder for us to, reach all the places that we want to. So I imagine at some point we're going to be talking to them about how to, spread things out a little bit. Wait, take this one.
Come here, Ronnie.
Thank God. She's home. The dogs are in the room.
We're almost done. You can get back to him in a second.
No, I'm supposed to be in the studio right now, so.
Okay, so you want to do these last ones real quickly? We got three holding. Okay,
yeah.
So, hey, Raymond, we see your chin. There you go.
There's his face. Hey, Raymond.
Hey, well, Dave, it's good to talk to you. You too, Eddie.
Thank you.
Well, Dave, I'm just curious, since this pandemic, what interesting things have you been doing to keep yourself occupied?
Making a new record, going to doctor's appointments for myself. I've been working on my farm here, just getting things put back to normal because the rain has just been nonstop. And we've had a lot of the ground here moving because of the rainfall. Going from my house to where the band house is, you have to drive a ways through some hills and stuff, and it is an absolute mud pit right now. If I was a kid, I'd be out there in swim trunks, just belly flopping and having the best old time.
Thank you for the question, Raymond. Let's bring in Erica, who is in Twin Lakes, Wisconsin. While we're waiting for Erica, there was one part in the book that was funny as hell, Dave, when you talked about, even though no matter how high you were, you always still had your sense of humor, and you were on a panel doing something with Don Dokken. Do you want to tell this story?
I remember that. Sure.
Hysterical. I laughed out loud.
Yeah, I was at the concrete marketing convention, and this was back in 1991, 92, maybe something. And we had this panel of really talented guys, and Flea was there, Mike Tramp was there, Don Dokken was there, Rick Nielsen was there. I was present. Well, no, I don't think I was present. I was there. I'd probably say half there. And so we're doing the panel, and I had kind of fallen asleep because I was just bored. And I remembered Flea was getting really pissed off because everybody was asking questions to the guy in White Lion. And Flea had said, "What is all this white stuff? White lion, white this, white that." And I thought, okay, these guys are going to get into an argument now. Maybe I can just take a nap. And so I kind of closed my eyes, and Rick Nielsen had left, and he comes back, and he's sweating profusely. He's got these giant rings on his hands like grizzly claws. And I thought, I just have to excuse myself and get out of here because this isn't going to end well. These guys are getting armed now. And granted, I was completely loaded and I didn't have any idea what was happening. So somebody said something to Don and said, "So Don, what are you going to do?" And he goes, "Well, I'm going to go solo." And I looked over at him and I mean, it was funny to me. I said, "What are you going to call it, Don?" Instead of Docking, right? So, and I guess you had to be there, but he didn't
No,
like
it was
very much.
great. What would a Don Dawkins solo record be called? Don? That is, I laughed out loud when I read that in the book. All right, our last person. I guess we don't have Erica, so we're going to finish up with Sam. Sam, take it away. Our final caller. He's in West Wyoming, Pennsylvania. Hey, Sam.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on. This is awesome, Dave. It's so great
You're
to see
welcome.
you. It's so great to see and hear you healthy, man.
Oh, thank you.
My question was, in 2004, you remastered and remixed a good portion of your back catalog, like Eddie talked about before.
Right.
When I got that new version of Rust in Peace, after living with the original Rust in Peace for 15 years at that point, when I put the remixed version in, I noticed the differences straight away. And I was wondering, what were your goals at that point when you remixed and remastered that record? What were you trying to get out of that new mix? Anything specific?
Well, I wasn't trying to insult any of the previous production partners I've had or any of this, the past, our history, because it's a big part of it. And a lot of people are purists and they like the old versions better than the new versions. And the only reason I did that is, when you have a partnership and you're working with somebody, you would be a fool not to have that person contribute in some way or form. I mean, why else would you have a partnership? You hire somebody, you pay them an exorbitant amount of cash, and then you don't let them contribute. That seems really foolish to me. So there was a lot of stuff during the process of making all those records where I did partnership with these other people. And the way that we did things was either their way or our way. I never pushed it, so it was my way. But when the releases came out, I did it the way that I wanted.
Dave, I appreciate your time so much, and I echo what all the callers have said. It is wonderful to see you healthy. There's nothing more important than that. A belated happy birthday. I know after what you went through with the cancer, every birthday is probably a little extra special right now. And best of luck on the new record.
Thank you, Eddie. Thank you, everybody. God bless y'all.
Everybody check out the book, Rust in Peace. It is a fantastic read, and we look forward to that next Megadeth record coming sometime very, very soon, maybe, because Dave is literally turning off his Zoom and going into the studio to get to work on it, which is something we all look forward to.
कैसे भूल पैबू जान बगिया उतलैया हो अचके में आके ऊ पकड़ल हमर बहिया हो कैसे भूल पैबू जान बगिया उतलैया हो अचके में